Hey guys, very quick video just to give you some context for what you're about to watch. It's a speech that I gave at the Toastmasters Club that I'm a member of, and it's part of the presentation mastery program they have there under this Pathways program. So if you're into Toastmasters, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, then this won't make much sense to you. But basically just wanted to mention that I only had 40 minutes to prepare for the speech, so it's not particularly well executed, and on the basis of in the spirit of prolific not perfect, I decided to go and post it anyway, because it just gives you some of my ideas on the way the office is being handled, and the way the office market is changing and adapting to Covid-19. If you're interested in a critique, like a running critique of this speech, I'm gonna post that over on my personal channel, so you can actually go and watch that. And I'm gonna actually stop the video in places and tell you like why I shouldn't have said this, or what I should have done instead, or whatever. So there you go. Hope you enjoy the video, guys.
Will things ever return to how they were? Please, let's give a warm welcome to Gavin. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you, everybody. Gaia, I'm going to share my screen, so if it's okay.
Yeah, you should be able. Perfect.
Great. Here we go. Okay, welcome, everybody. Thank you for this. There we go. So I'm assuming you can see me at the bottom of the screen or something like that. And I'm going to get into this. I've been a little bit rushed today. My dilemma was I run a business park, and I got some irate people dealing with some builders in the park. And so I had to divert time from this to looking after them. So I'm a little bit under pressure today with this. So first of all, I thought I'd go into will things ever be the same? The object of the speech is to try to convince you that the role of the office is not dead and buried in the world of COVID-19. So first of all, for those of you who are new members, or not so much new members as the guests, and you don't know who I am, who is this guy? My name is Gavin Gallagher, and I am a property investor, entrepreneur, and more recently I've been calling myself a speaker, thanks to Toastmasters. And I run East Point Business Park, which is how I got to know all these nice people in Enterprise Ireland. And it's a large business park, as you can see from the photo there. We have 37 buildings. There's about 50 different large sort of multinational occupiers occupying the place. There's 8,000 or 9,000 people work here per day, normally in non-COVID-19 situation. We have a bus service that brings about 3,500 people a day to and from the Lewis or the Dart. So there's a lot going on in here. I've also worked abroad. I spent about 6 years in the Middle East, Spain, and the south of down in Africa, in West Africa, in Ghana, where I was building office buildings. So this is me standing at the topping out ceremony of an office building we built in Dubai for Standard Chartered Bank. And you can see we go for very lavish topping out ceremonies in the business that I run. So today I'm back in Ireland running East Point, and my day-to-day role involves an awful lot of communication with the facility managers in all the occupiers that work in the park. So I deal with a lot of people in Enterprise Ireland, Virgin Media, Oracle, Google, and you can see a couple of names there. And I'm establishing a little bit of my background so that you can understand where I'm coming from when I tell you about the office market. The impact of COVID-19, in particular lockdown, has been huge. And everyone will now be working from, well, most of you are experiencing work from home. And I'm not sure how everybody's enjoying that, but the feedback I'm getting is that a lot of people are actually enjoying that. Now there are challenges, of course, because you've got, childcare and things of that nature. But one of the benefits is commuter time. How many people miss entering this kind of scene every day of the Monday to Friday week? Not many that I know of are missing this. And we've also got a lot of more balance in your life. There's a lot of people doing things at home now using Zoom and a little bit like we're doing here with the virtual meetings. So, but you've got to balance that with childcare issues at the moment. And I do know it is a challenge for a number of people because of the fact that they can't drop their kids off at the creche or school or whatever. And so they're having to learn to adapt. But generally speaking, it has been I would say, positive for a lot of people. One thing that I've actually heard evidence of recently is that down in Cork and the West Cork and Kerry areas, that there's been a big pickup in the number of people looking at houses down there. And the reason for that is I believe, is that people are speculating that this is how things are going to be long term. And therefore there's a chance to live in somewhere like West Cork and communicate with your office using Zoom or whatever, and then only every now and then do you have to actually make the journey to Dublin. And this could be playing out around the world, because I have heard people talking about working in New York, but actually living in Florida and flying up and down for this kind of thing. So it's interesting, and it is definitely having an impact on the office market. East Point in particular has been massively impacted. During the lockdown, I had occasion to be in the park, and I took this shot using my drone, and you can see it's almost empty. The car parks are vacant, and with the exception of one or two facilities people that were in. But it reminded me a little bit of, does anyone recall this movie with our own Cillian Murphy? This is from 2002, the film 28 Days Later, where he wakes up in the hospital in a coma and goes outside, and the whole thing is just empty. There's nobody on the streets. And that was what it was a little bit like driving to East Point the day that I came in. In terms of the way that the office market has developed over the last few years, big tech companies like Google and Oracle have been leading the way. And those companies have done beautiful. This is the Microsoft headquarters in Sandyford in Dublin here. And you can see the architecture is very sort of avant-garde and interesting. And they want to create these spaces to make it very important to go to work, and so that you feel particularly sort of special in an environment like this. And it is difficult because of the fact that you can't go to the office now, or you haven't been allowed for a while. It's difficult for the big tech companies to actually attract talent because they don't have this kind of thing to offer them. And that has been one of the big drawbacks. But one of the issues that I see if in a longer term, sorry, I'm going to go back, in the longer term, is that corporate culture is, you know, the camaraderie you have with your workmates. And the longer that we spend away from our office, I believe corporate culture is going to suffer. And I mean, you know, you communicate with people via Zoom and things like that, but it's not quite the same as the banter that you'd have at the water cooler, or when you go down for a coffee in the kind of central canteen or whatever. And so I do think that there's a risk that the longer these kind of absence from the offices goes on, that corporate culture will be dented. And I do think that a lot of major companies are going to start insisting that people come back for that reason. And because at the end of the day, if you're sitting at your kitchen table and you're being paid, you will at one stage start to question whether you should continue working at this salary level when somebody else is offering a larger salary, and there's no difference between your kitchen table today or tomorrow. And so I do see some issues in that regard, which is why I do think the office is not quite dead and buried. One of the last things somebody mentioned to me recently is that the law firms around the place that usually have lots of staff, senior and junior, that the junior staff are starting to lose out because their education is actually slipping. A lot of junior lawyers would have learned from overhearing conversations that their senior colleagues were having on the phone. And just that sort of being in that sort of immediate vicinity would often give people that little bit of absorption of these kind of things. And so this is an area that I think is going to suffer as well, which is why I'm not sure the office is quite dead yet. And thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a short speech. It was not particularly well executed, as I mentioned. And if you have any opposing views or suggestions or anything like that, I'd be delighted to hear in the comment section below. So leave me a note, and many thanks. Hope to see you guys in the next video.